especially when they're old. Old guys, you kind of play along because they're older and they don't get a lot of action these days. So you just kind of like give back the banter.
They don't get a lot of action. So about you, Jared? Anything?
Did you get hit on by old ladies today?
No, not today. No.
Bummer.
Yeah, I know. Josh, did you get hit on by?
No, I was trying to think if I even.
No one made a pass at you today.
I don't know if I was even out in public really this week. Like,
lucky you.
I mean, I haven't had any in-person meetings other than dropping Addie off at dance. We did the baptism interviews last night. So I was at the church. I did see those people, but they were not old ladies.
Right.
No.
What did I do Tuesday? I don't remember. But Monday we were home all day. Yeah. No old ladies. I mean, other than
I can't even remember.
Other than my grandmother always saying, "You're a good-looking man."
Yeah.
Almost every Sunday morning.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
But you don't see her as much because I guess you see her in the crossover.
No, I see. Yeah,
crossover.
we
she's
do.
Like leaving
in passing.
When we
that
get
normally
there.
happens like in the morning when before service, and she's kind of got time to like talk. And, Yeah.
Yeah.
Shout out.
Yeah. Meemaw.
Shout out Meemaw.
Meemaw's the best.
Yep.
She is. She's great.
Yeah.
All right. So, So we're talking about prisoners today. Prisoners with an S.
Prisoners.
More than one prisoner.
More than one. Yes.
Multiple prisoners.
So I'm just going to read. Oh, wait. I wrote it in. That's right. So welcome back to Screen Time. I'm your host, Josh Youngbar, and I'm here with our host, Jared and Claudia Youngbar.
Yes. Hello.
On this episode, we're doing an in-depth discussion of the film Prisoners.
Yes.
All right, I'm going to read off the synopsis just to kind of have when Keller Dover's daughter and her friend go missing, he takes matters into his own hands as the police pursue multiple leads and the pressure mounts. So, overall
doesn't even
thoughts.
begin to describe the
I feel like that's a general
the emotion and the pure
the general
intensity
theme of these synopses is that they keep them so basic.
Yes.
So that they don't spoil anything, but then it also means you really don't get much out of it.
Yeah, that's true.
But
yeah, you can't go off of just that if you're just like looking for hey, a movie to watch. You just read that. Is
it going to be good? I don't know.
Yeah, you can't really off of that.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. So what do you guys think? You guys have both seen this before, right?
I've seen this. This is probably my third or fourth time watching this movie.
Okay, you've seen it the most.
I've seen it a lot.
All right, so this was my second time seeing it.
Okay.
And
you have
it was my first time seeing it.
Yeah,
I had not seen this movie.
I want you to go first. This is
This is
interesting.
I'm gonna since this is your first time watching it.
And also like what Claudia said last time, she said she really wants to know, since you are a parent.
Yeah.
You're a father.
How different
of daughters. Yes.
If there's a perspective there that's different.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
Yeah.
So I mean overall I liked it. I think it was good. I think for the type of movie it was, I think it was definitely above average. It's not my favorite genre, so it's kind of, but I think it felt like I would put it. I mean, it's not Silence of the Lamb or Seven, which are kind of in the same type of genre, but
it's hard to top those.
Yeah, but those are top of that.
Yeah,
the food chain of that style of movie. But I'd say it's right, kind of a notch right below. I think it was still pretty good. Just, I mean, that's from a general, and then not getting into spoilers. So yeah, I guess that's about as far as I can go with it.
Yeah, that's true. You can't really do much of it.
Generalize your opinion without getting into spoilers.
So right now we're doing just spoiler free, and then you're gonna go. Okay.
And then we'll switch. Yeah, I just try to get overall thoughts before we.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
So I guess for you two, even though it's seen it before.
Yeah. I'm trying to think this. So now second time watching it. it definitely felt, because this movie's 2.5 hours long. It felt longer this time to me, but not necessarily a bad thing, because I think it's very gripping and interesting the whole way through, even with that longer runtime. And yeah, it's just great. Actually, my one thing I wanted to mention up top about it is, sorry, give me a second. Okay, is this time watching, I thought immediately, this exact kind of movie and like the genre of it, if this was made now, it would 100% be an HBO miniseries. Like, there's a lot of those. I noticed that immediately. I'm like, this is that kind of
That would be
thing.
an amazing show.
Well, it had some. One of the things that kept coming to mind, I think, because it's set and it's supposed to be, even though they filmed it in Atlanta or Georgia, not Atlanta. Filmed it in Georgia, but it's supposed to be in PA because they have PA plates on most of the vehicles. But it kind of reminded me of Mayor Easttown.
Right, that's exactly what I was thinking.
Which, if I was going to say, I like Mayor Easttown better.
Yeah, Mayor of Easttown's really good. Yeah, but it has that same kind of thing. I was trying to think of some others, like kind of like The Outsider, even though that's a little more, because I didn't watch that. That's Stephen King, right?
Yeah.
Was The Outsider Stephen King? Originally, isn't it based on?
There was a series, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, but yeah, so like that kind of has a similar feel. I was trying to think of what else. Mayor of Easttown was number one, though, what I thought of.
So, and I'll say the main thing I think is Mayor of Easttown, you got to know the characters better. I think this movie jumps in so quickly.
Yeah.
That there's not a lot of setup of like getting to know these people before disaster strikes.
Right. I thought about that too when I was watching it again. Was the beginning where you're introduced to these two families and you kind of know their relationship as neighbors. They really set up like what they are and what happens to them very quickly so that they could get into kind of the nitty gritty of what happens after these, what happens.
Which, again, the miniseries idea, right? Like, there's a 2.5 hour movie. So then you go to like a miniseries, a 5-6 episode miniseries, and that's 5-6 hours, which then allows for, a whole first episode of setup, right?
Sure. You get to kind of build a relationship with the characters before you get into what happens to them.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which is why I think if somebody did do a miniseries with this story, it would be exceptional because you could get a lot more detail out of everything. You could dwell on each character a little bit more, and I think it would kind of really bring that home.
Yeah, and even the way it kind of goes through, even like the second and third act, like it's a very similar structure, I even noticed. So like, yeah, if they just expanded on each of those areas, it really would be, like I thought specifically HBO, but it could be a miniseries elsewhere, but it seems like that kind of thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like you said,
Apple TV Plus.
Apple, that would, exactly, yeah.
So,
but no, I love this movie though. Sorry,
I was just gonna say. So, it's obviously directed by Denis Villeneuve. That we're watching his stuff now for a few weeks more. So, this was the second movie of his that we watched. This was written by Aaron Gozowski. I don't know if I butchered that or not. I'm trying to remember. He wrote some TV stuff that was prominent. I don't remember it off the top of my head. And then, of course, our cinematographer, Roger Deakins.
I was going to mention this.
Yes.
This is first of 3 with Denny.
Yeah, this is his first one with
Denny. That's awesome, yeah.
But yeah, he...
I got to get your opinion on that whenever you want to. About
we can get into that in a little bit. And then, of course, we've got Hugh Jackman, Jake Gyllenhaal, Terrence Howard, and Paul Dano, however you say his last name. Dano.
Viola Davis. Is that everyone then, pretty much? Yeah,
I mean, there's the two spouses and which are minor. I mean, like they're like the more minor characters,
right? They weren't as much,
and the kids. I mean, they're minor characters. I mean, like right. All right, so let's get into some like spoiler discussion.
Well, I was gonna say the kids, because we were talking about this. The very first pod we ever did was Witness. We were talking about children actors.
Yeah.
And I thought
child actors.
Yeah, I know. Dad was listening to that
They're
one.
not called kid actors.
He kept mentioning me.
Do you
He's like,
remember that?
he was
What
like,
he said?
don't call him. He's like, you kept calling them kid actors. It's child actors.
Child actors. Okay.
I know. Sorry, Dad. Child actors. Dad's our number one critic. He's gonna critique each one. But
That's
I was
scary.
saying, yeah. But I was saying that. So that kid in that, because he's a very main character in it. Very good actor for, it's always hard with children actors. You never know.
Sure.
And I thought both of the girls did really well.
Yeah, for what little bit they had to do.
Right.
Yeah, they did well for sure. Yeah, I mean, everybody was.
Oh man, yeah,
We were doing well. Like
very good. Yeah.
Yeah.
So actually, I wanted to know with you what
Yeah. Go ahead.
just the difference, because when we were talking about Enemy, you said, and then you asked her like, well, now we're going to Prisoners next. Like, does this have like a different feel to it? And I said, we were saying like, yeah, this feels way more like a mainstream movie, right?
Yeah,
did you get that?
Still a reasonable like budget, because location. So things that cost money, right, is changing locations, but all locations were really simple in this, right? They used a lot of the same locations over and over because you kept repeating where they were going, and there was nothing that was fancy or special about like most of it. So real reasonable. Like said, they filmed it in some small town in Georgia that pretty much probably had all the different things they needed, which also saves money. If you're not on a sound studio, you have to build sets, and you're using practical locations, which again, everything here, there's nothing unusual, right, that you couldn't use practical stuff, right?
Yeah, like, is there any visual effects in this?
I mean, there probably are that we don't
There
know
is,
about.
yeah,
but
I feel like in everything there is, but it's like I couldn't.
There's probably not much practical stuff with like gunshots and things, but like, yeah. So in that sense, probably most of your cost is your actors, and you can get a couple name actors in there. But yeah, I didn't look it up what the budget was, but then of course you're definitely have a larger production crew than you would have had on Enemy, and then of course hiring Roger Deakins probably is not cheap.
That was probably a big part of it. Yeah, big chunk right there.
So
yeah.
and then I'm sure he requires a certain size of crew around him that he expects, right? So just for support. So I'd imagine that at that level, but then it's also kind of talking about that a little bit. I would say the goal of it is to feel more natural, right? Like the goal of a lot of even the lighting and the camera work is almost documentary style to some extent, right? Like you want it to feel like you're almost just watching this play out as like a actual event, right? Instead of it being like a, for Dune or something, right? Where they're creating this thing that doesn't even exist, right? These worlds that don't exist, and then they're creating, so then they can set up these shots that are, specific to showing something very cinematic, and it's kind of works with the tone of the film, right? Whereas this, it's like, not that there were, I would say cinematic, but it's just not any like wide sweeping shots. Like everything's like real close up and just part of because you're really just about the people and the performances, right? That's all we're really worried about. There's not like a lot to see visually.
It's very character driven. Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
But then even with the lighting, nothing too artistic, right? Like, I guess the best way to put it, that made you be like, wow, that was crazy. It's more just like trying to make everything feel natural and organic, and which is not always easy to do, and still make it lit well. Right. And of course, all that was done really well.
Yeah, well, yeah, like specifically like shots at night, and there's a lot of rain and stuff like that. It's like, I feel like, is that a lot harder to do in general?
Well, I had a note about the rain.
All right,
I was like,
cool.
there's so much stuff that's in the rain.
It makes it more dramatic, right? I don't know.
Well, it makes it more dramatic, but again, that it adds such a complex level on the production side. Like, you got so many people in gear and, all these things you got to protect. And then, of course, you got to make it rain, and unless it's really raining. But either way.
That's like, can you really predict that too much?
No, you can't control that, right?
Yeah.
So, but anyway, so that just adds a little complexity. So my note is mainly to think, okay, you had to be like, no, I want it raining. Like, as a director or producer, whoever made that decision, probably director, you had to be like, no, I want it to be raining because even though that's going to cost us however much more and make this that much more complicated, I want it to be raining. And there was like multiple times where it was raining, right? And so like those kind of things, when you, at least from my lens that I look at these things when I'm watching, like I think about that, I'm like, oof, because that's a big decision, right? Not just like a little thing that you're like, yeah, let's make it rain. Like it's a lot.
And like you said, it's not just one shot to make the decision. It's several shots, several different scenes of it. Yeah.
And then of course it's uncomfortable for all the actors, right? To be just drenched, all those things. And you're being like, no, that needs to happen. And making that decision is like very intentional and a very strong intention, right? And so, I mean, obviously it makes it, as you kind of said, like makes everything more intense and dramatic and just tense, right? Like, because the situation just makes it more dire and so it kind of adds to that. But yeah.
Do you think that, I was wondering, because you said, I think you mentioned this last time about like how much the cinematographer is involved, like depends. And so with this, since it's Roger Deakins, like, so you think he had a huge say in a lot of this?
I would imagine.
Yeah. Okay.
In composition and whatnot. But then Villeneuve's movies in general always have a good, distinct look. And so even the ones that Deakins didn't work with him on. So I'd imagine he also has a strong opinion about the framing of things, because not all directors do. Some of them are a little bit more like just lean on the cinematographer to deal with that and just say, here's what I want, figure it out. And then some are like very hands-on with that. So I imagine he's hands-on with it though too, just because you see that even when he works with other cinematographers. So
yeah.
All right, so we touched on the performances a little bit. Any thoughts on?
It was so difficult for me because when I'm watching movies, I think about the questions Jared's going to ask me on Film Banter or other podcasts.
Right.
And
we don't have to do that on this one, It's
but one of the questions is who had the best performance, right? And in this movie, there are so many actors that are portraying their roles so well that it was so difficult for me to kind of sit back and look at all of these actors and be like, okay, who's doing the best? Because they're all doing an exceptional job. Hugh Jackman, amazing. Jake Gyllenhaal was amazing.
Yeah.
Even the guys playing the bad guys, like the pedophile, whatever they are. Very, very good actors playing, they're giving you the heebie-jeebies when you're looking at them, like very well.
Paul Dano. I mean,
I know.
I was like, well, he's just playing the Riddler. I mean, oh wait.
Yeah, right. Yeah, well, that's true. Yeah.
When I watched it, I was like, but obviously this came first, but because I didn't see it in that order, I'm just like,
he's just doing. You can definitely see that. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah,
because the performance felt very similar to what he does as the Riddler. And
this kind of soft-spoken,
the Batman,
weird,
and the Batman.
yeah. It's hard. It was definitely between Jake Gyllenhaal and Hugh Jackman for me.
Yeah, me too.
Like when it comes down to it,
I think I go for Jake. I think Jake.
That's what I said. Yeah,
I think he
was so good in this.
So I was the blinking.
Okay, I was going to mention that.
Because obviously, we literally just watched the movie the week before with him in it, and he wasn't doing that.
Right.
Yes.
And of course, that week before, watching him play two characters at the same time, very much was like ridiculous.
Yeah. I wonder if that was something that he thought would be a good idea for his character, or if like the director was like, hey.
Where'd that come from?
Yeah. Because when he's doing the hard blinking, because there are people that have that, and it's kind of almost like a tick, I would say, that people have.
It's kind of because he was almost like a little bit of OCD with the fact that like he hadn't always, right? He like they implied that he had never lost a case. He always never didn't finish a case.
He's always solved every case he's had. He's solved.
And so like it was almost like it's like he's so like like intense, and it's like with and then of course all that, like he's doing his job and he's basically doing it right, but yet the parents, especially Hugh Jackman's character, isn't agreeing, right?
Mm-hmm. Sure. I'm sure if any parent was going through something like this, if you're a parent and you're in this situation, and I can't imagine the time that passes by.
You couldn't sit still.
I mean, completely, it's like a snail. I mean, every moment that passes after you realize your child is missing has to be just the longest hours of your life. And this almost went on for a week, or it did go on for a week.
Yeah, I think so.
So if you were in Hugh Jackman's shoes, you'd be up Jake Gyllenhaal's butt the entire time also.
And then
being like, what the heck's going on? What are you doing?
His wife is just in bed, basically.
Yeah,
always.
she's in a
she's
pit of
just,
depression.
Yeah.
Completely depressed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
So the story. One thing I did was as soon as he went and visited the lady that, like, the older case from the missing child.
Yes.
Then that was what I was like. Oh, these are all connected, because she said, I was like, it's all
right.
I said, and it's it's the guy in the basement of the. It's like everybody's involved. I didn't 100% right then know that it was the mom or the aunt, whatever you want to call it. Like she was involved. She was the one doing it, but the longer it went on, I was like, it has to be her, because it's like, it's obvious, like, Paul Dano's character wasn't, even though he had some kind of involvement, because he knew what was going on, but like, it was obvious he didn't actually be the one that really,
he's not capable of doing
and
that.
Then, so you're like, so it had to be her. But yeah, so that was the only thing. Like, I feel like I've kind of figured it out, and then there's still like an hour in the movie or whatever it was.
Yeah,
so like,
sure.
It all play out.
Obviously, this was something that her and her husband was doing for years before he passed away, and then she just kind of kept doing it. Yeah. And we realized that the maze thing is a part of the group of people that are involved in, what did she say, cleansing the earth.
Yeah.
And it's almost like a cult type thing. And then Paul Dano's character is a child that they abducted.
Yes. He was the kid.
Yeah, he was the kid, which the actress that you were talking about is Aunt May from Spider-Man.
Yes.
Yeah. I didn't realize that. You pointed that out.
Yeah,
to me.
you could hear it in her voice. If she didn't even look, like, I mean, she kind of looked, she's older, obviously more aged, but her voice was so distinct, and I could recognize it immediately.
From the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man.
Yeah.
The best ones.
Man, hot take.
Wow. Because she definitely wasn't Marissa Tomei.
Oh, definitely not.
No, she was not.
Definitely not.
No, she was not. I love me Tobey Maguire Spider-Man, though.
Yeah,
I have to say. Maybe not like the second and third as much as the first, but I still loved him.
Especially not the third.
The third, that's one, but the second one was good.
Second one's good,
Yeah.
yes. Yeah. Third one was just horrendous. I don't know what that was.
Yeah. Second one might be the best, actually, with Doc Ock.
Actually, I think you're right.
Second
now that I'm
might
thinking
be the
about
best.
it, yeah. But anyway, sorry, little tangent there.
Yeah, no.
I don't know where I was going with that. I lost my train of thought.
What were we talking about? I don't know. So what did you think about the opening scene with the hunting and the deer, and he's
reciting the Lord's Prayer.
The Lord's Prayer.
Yeah, that's cool.
You can tell that he's like a good old boy, Hugh Jackman. He's teaching his son to hunt.
Boy Scout. He's got all that stuff in the basement.
Correct. Yeah. You got to be ready for anything.
Yeah, and
anything life throws at you. He's telling his son.
One thing I did remember from first time seeing it is I didn't realize that I remember that prayer the way it started the movie, but then he's praying several times out loud.
Yeah.
You hear it in the movie.
He recites it later.
Yeah.
Yes, he
I
does.
appreciated that. Yeah, it was cool that he was.
The son, he was in that
13 Reasons Why.
That's what it was.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, that's who that is.
From Netflix.
Yes, he's also in an episode of Grey's Anatomy. That's where he kind of started, I think.
I feel like everyone was in Grey's Anatomy.
Yeah, everyone at one point.
13 seasons or something like that.
Yeah, it was ridiculous.
Insane. Yeah.
Still going on?
Yeah.
Maybe.
I think it still is, which is crazy.
I think it is.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah. I mean, why stop now?
I know.
Yeah.
Might as well.
Trying to catch NYPD or what was it? One of those that's been going on.
Dude.
Did like 20 some seasons. Or,
CSI is probably like season 20 something. It's insane.
Or LA Law. One of those.
Yeah, one of those.
Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, he was in that. That's what I knew it was something like it was that.
That was like his big thing
Yeah.
that he did.
He was the lead, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Mm. It just talking about like just actors in general with this. It's crazy how many like pretty big actors, especially this time in 2013, how many he got for this movie. When we weren't sure about when they filmed which one, but like getting all of them after only doing Enemy as far as like US movies.
Yeah.
And
well,
not,
I mean, it can be look, but it doesn't always. Depends on budget, right?
yeah.
Producer, like studio. Sometimes that if you have a
Okay.
producer that's well known, even if the director's not, can still pull in some talent that way because they have confidence in the producer and say, hey, yeah, and then they show him something else he did, and they're like, oh, this is pretty good, and then a name actor might be willing to take a chance on a indie film, especially if it, of course, fits in your schedule, and you're like, oh, I can shoot this between Wolverine and whatever, and then you're like, okay, it fits.
Mm-hmm.
Make another $2 million, whatever.
Yeah, this would have been like what? Yeah, like Days of Future Past, probably around that time. I want to say.
I didn't look, but
Yeah.
I'm just he played.
Yeah, he was still very
he's played
big.
Wolverine
Yeah,
for so
right,
many
yeah.
years, and that.
Sheesh, yeah.
But like even his other movies around this time would have been. Yeah, he was doing a lot of movies too. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So what else you guys got on? It's about the soundtrack. Anything on the notes on the music or?
Oh yeah. So I had to look up how to pronounce his name. Johan Johansson is his name, which I was looking up because I recognized that name when I saw it, and
Does sound familiar.
yeah. So he then goes on to do Sicario with Denny, and I want to say one other as well, and yeah, with this one it was more just because there wasn't a whole lot. I definitely in Sicario I noticed the music a lot more because it's really great in that too. But this one it's more just very atmospheric, but is done very well. He does a very good job with it because it's not a whole lot. It's very in the
way
background.
in the background. Yeah.
But yeah, no, it was great. I like that. But yeah, I think he did a third one as well. I was trying to look up, so I think he did 3 also, just like Roger Deakins. I think he did 3.
Maybe the 3 same
movies.
ones. No, he didn't.
No,
he didn't
not
do
Blade Runner. No,
He didn't
no,
do
no,
Blade
no,
Runner.
no.
That's true. As soon as I said that, I was
I know,
like, wait,
yeah.
because you said he did Sicario. That's why I was like,
Yeah.
But
I don't know. I have to look it up, but yeah, it's
definitely didn't do Blade Runner.
yeah. No, that was Hans and another guy too, because that's one of my favorites.
Yeah,
music
good.
wise.
Good.
Yeah.
Very good.
I have to say, I think one of my favorite scenes, and I love this when movies do this in general, is when Detective Loki goes up to Alex's van, his RV that he has parked at the gas station, corners him, takes him into custody, right? And he has him in the interrogation room and he's questioning him. He's questioning him, and Alex Jones is kind of, I think is that his name? Alex Jones? Yeah.
Yeah, because I was laughing that his name is Alex Jones. It's just
so he's responding to Detective Loki's questions, but it's switching from that scene to the scene where they are going through his RV and they're laying all of the evidence out in that kind of warehouse, but it's still playing the audio of the interrogation. I absolutely love when movies do that. Something about it gives it a weird kind of, I don't know, I can't explain the feeling, the vibe of it. But to see something else happening with not the correct audio gives it kind of that eerie vibe, especially when he's talking about how he's abducted these girls and where they're at. Just tell me where the girls are, and and they just, you see all the weird stuff that he's had in his RV that he sleeps in sometimes. And, you see this guy with double bar glasses with thick prescription and he has a fan. You're like, oh yeah, this guy did it.
not a good sign. Yeah.
Not a good sign.
Yeah. He definitely looks guilty.
Suspect.
But I was like, you were talking about, I think last week, just about editing and the technique, and that's one of the things most likely probably was decided in the editing. Like, even if the director gave that thought, like, it probably wasn't planned that way, like in a storyboard. Like, it was like they knew you wanted coverage of the one thing of them setting out all the evidence, and you knew, well, maybe, but like most likely that's just one of the things, those creative decisions you make in the
Well, also, this is another thing I'm wondering about. Do they actually just do a lot more shots like that they actually just call coverage just in case if they need it for that kind of thing? Like, isn't that intentional? A
Yeah,
lot of times in
probably.
movies?
And then even what
or
they
establishing shots. I guess that's a thing too. Yeah, they do that too.
you just get coverage of things, especially once everything went digital. Like it's like
right.
it doesn't take that much.
With film,
more.
I guess they're not doing that.
They were
as
a lot
much.
more cautious of film, but
yeah.
But even like the evidence stuff, they probably shot twice as much as you saw, if not more than that, and then they just use some of it and not use all of it. I mean, that's pretty standard. You get a lot more coverage than you actually use.
What's crazy is I was actually looking up because I thought I heard something about a director's cut for this movie, and I looked it up, and it was mentioned somewhere, but I couldn't find anything about it or if it ever was released. But I saw something about another scene that was added to the ending, which probably would have made a huge difference in the ending. I don't know what it was, but that was a big thing with I wonder if we'll ever release it or do something about it, because that'd be really cool to see. I love when directors do that.
Speaking of the ending,
oh yeah,
this ending is exactly the same as the movie before.
You think so?
Yeah, like it's like kind of open ended. You don't quite know exactly what's gonna happen, and then it just ends on Jake Gyllenhaal's face.
I'm okay with that.
I mean,
Claudia loved it. Yeah.
I'm not saying it was bad. I'm just saying I was like, this is literally how the other movie ended. It was like you kind of leave it like you assume he heard it and he's gonna go
right,
save
he's
him.
gonna go,
but then he's gonna put him in jail.
But you don't know if he actually ends up doing time or how long he does time
Unless
for.
the comments from the wife was like, he's a good man, and
Sure.
that, maybe softened Jake Gyllenhaal's heart.
Right.
But probably not. Detective
Ultimately,
Loki
it's
seems
not
like
really,
by the book.
Yeah,
Very
he's very
by
by
the
the
book,
book. Yeah.
But anyway, I just thought it was like it's kind of like open-ended ending, and then cut to Jake Gyllenhaal's face. That's like
the Jake Gyllenhaal's face. That is true. It is the same in that way. I didn't think in other ways.
He's
have
got
the
good
jumps.
expressions.
Not
right.
in a tonal,
Yeah.
not in a tonal sense, but like just it was like you're like what, or you're kind of like okay, we don't know how this ended. It's like an open-ended movie. It doesn't come to conclusion. It kind of leaves things
I want
up
to know if he went to jail.
Yeah,
how long?
It opened to interpretation. On, right where things go, and then it's just Jake Gyllenhaal's face.
Yeah. The last movie I would say I didn't like that ending quite as much. It's still a cool choice just because he actually has that reaction, and then it cuts. But this, when we finished watching this time, I said, I think that was a perfect way to end the movie. I love the way they ended it.
Yeah, I thought it was great.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And even also, I think it's cool. It cuts and it says prisoners.
Right.
It's like, I like that kind of thing. But I thought it was great because, you hear
the whistle kind of faint.
And it's not even ever really that loud.
It's
so
not.
If you were not watching this in that loud of a volume, I wonder if you'd even, you know what I mean? It's very quiet.
I was watching with my AirPods in.
Oh, okay, so you would have
noise canceling, and still it's very subtle.
Yeah, very faint. Yeah,
and so, you're right. Like if you didn't have a decent, you're just watching some crappy flat panel TV with
you just see his face and that's it. You'd be like, what happened?
Which is kind of cool though, because it kind of shows how good Loki is and how perceptive he is as a detective. Like he's always on, even when they're wrapping up the crime scene and packing up, he's still
something rubbing him the wrong way.
Right. He's got that intuition and he's on it. And I like that. That was really cool.
Also, just since, you and I both thought he was the best, but specifically just him being a cop, he was just so good.
Oh man.
As this character,
Oh, has he ever? I wonder if he's played a cop in anything else.
I was trying to think about that. Yeah.
I don't know, but I'd be getting in all kinds of trouble if he was a cop.
Claudia, arrest me now,
please.
Yeah.
Claudia had a lot of remarks to this movie about Jake Gyllenhaal.
He looks real. I mean, he does. He's got the tattoos. He's got the
he looks great,
slick back, oily looking hair.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's sharp.
He looks tired and he's pale.
He looks exhausted and pale.
Yeah. Yeah, he was doing it for you. Yeah,
it's my type. Yeah.
He definitely looked than the previous movie, because the previous movie kind of
I didn't like either one of his personas.
Yeah, the personalities were just off intentionally, but So what do you think of the title and what it means?
Oh no, I didn't think about this.
Yeah, I know. I feel like it has to have more of a meaning than just these kids that are you know,
imprisoned.
right?
Yeah.
Like, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
man.
You guys have anything to do with the maze and how,
Maybe.
because obviously they said these kids, they could be let free if they solved the maze.
Right.
But the maze is unsolvable, we find out.
Right, it was from that book or
It's
whatever.
from that book. Yeah, it cannot be solved.
That annoying forensic guy. He was like,
Oh, I know.
actually,
Dude,
he was doing that actually.
he was.
Oh,
He
no,
was.
actually. Yeah. Ugh.
But yeah. I don't know. I was trying to think of like, is it saying something about like, these families in a, the perfect neighborhood, are they really prisoners in what they can, besides like the obvious is the kids,
Right.
like, right. They were holding kids captive, but then, there's so many other things in there. There's the priest, and I mean, he had the guy but the guy was like, just felt guilty about what he was doing. Right. So
Yeah.
like, he was, so there just felt like there was like a couple possible angles with the prisoners, and of course,
Sure.
besides just the kids.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure. I feel like there's got to be though, just because I feel like all of his movies have a deeper meaning. It seems like all of them do, and he always has a lot of themes in his movies. So I'm sure there is. I didn't look up to see if he ever explained. Like the last movie, I had to, because I was like, did the director explain anything about what this movie's about? So, but this one, I'm wondering if Denny said anything about this, or
Yeah,
what his
I didn't watch
interpretation
any of
of-
the extras on this one.
Yeah, I didn't look up anything about this, and that's why I didn't even have a lot of notes, because I mean the movie's pretty straightforward and
Yeah.
what it is, but it is, and again, a lot of it could be to editing, but even though it's 2.5 hours, it was still like, it never felt boring.
I think it
Like,
would
it was
have
very-
if they would have kept going with Hugh Jackman's story after he got found underneath the car.
Yeah,
I think if
You're
they
right.
would have gone
Mhm.
further with that into like, this is what happens, and he got tried and convicted and blah,
Oh,
blah,
yeah,
blah,
that would be too
then it
much.
would have felt like it was dragging on. So I
Yeah.
agree with you with the ending being perfect and how they cut it off
Yes.
there. And we know at least Jake Gyllenhaal knows he's down there, and the rest you can kind of just
yeah.
make up in your
I
mind.
figure he gets found. You just
Yeah.
don't know
You just don't know.
what he decides.
Yeah, or if he's even well enough, he's probably on the verge of death.
Yeah,
How
he was
long
down
has he
there a
been down
while.
there?
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah,
With a broken leg and whatnot.
Yeah,
bleeding out,
yeah,
cold, freezing cold.
yeah. So
Yeah.
actually, so now I'm thinking about it. This is kind of not really what we were just talking about, but I just thought about it now, because we were talking about. So when Jake Gyllenhaal's in the house, and he opens all those containers and the snakes, I think at one point, one of the shots, it is, because we were talking about visual effects. I think one of the times, because it looked like real snakes at one point, but one of the shots it looked. So maybe that at least was, at least one of the shots it seemed like a little different. Didn't look like real
Maybe.
snakes, but
A really cool shot was when he finds the little girl and he's bleeding from the wound in his head, and
Yeah.
he's racing. This is what's
Oh,
bothering
man.
me, man.
yeah, you're right. That's
He's driving, and he's obviously like his eyes are burning because blood is pouring from his head into his eyes, and it's also torrential downpour, snow or whatever it is,
Yeah.
and he's
It's
just
snowing,
like
yeah.
can't see anything. But he's got his lights on and he's honking his horn, and nobody is moving over. That was
know.
bothering
And then
me
people
so
were yelling
much.
at him, like,
I know,
mad. They're
honking
like-
at
they're
him
like,
like
"What are
he's
you
the
doing?"
a-hole.
Yeah, I
Come
know.
on.
yeah.
Come on.
Yeah, true.
That you point that out. That is one of the best shots.
It
like
is an
the way you
incredible
see
scene.
the outside with all the lights, but at night, and how he's weaving through them. Like, that's something also. I'm like, how'd they shoot this? This is like, it's crazy, because it doesn't look like it doesn't look fake in any way.
Yeah.
And it's very like, that was one of the best shots.
Dude's got blood in
other-
his eyes.
Yeah.
It's dark. It's snowing or raining. He's got astigmatism, obviously, because the lights are just all like
Right.
bulbs, and I can relate to that so much.
The other shot that we actually both pointed out was pretty early on. Do you remember exactly what they were doing? So it was kind of a slow, like, zoom in, and it was on the outside of the place. and you could see it was like almost completely covered in like, I don't know, dirt from the window, but also, I guess, perspiration from the rain. You know what shot I'm talking about? Very early on.
Which
We
place?
both, I'm trying to think where they were at, because we both point out and we were like, man, that's a really cool shot, because the way it reflected, and you could see, so you couldn't really see in. That's how much it was like obscuring it.
Hmm.
You don't remember?
This was on the house?
Not at the house. They weren't at the house.
What window were they? Was this?
It looked like a store or something, but I can't remember where they were at.
I can't think of it now.
I don't know. Anyway, but that was another one I thought of that is really cool. Just, and again, at night, also raining, of course, like a lot of this.
Yeah, a lot of it.
Yeah, a lot of nighttime also.
A lot of nighttime, a lot of rain.
They do a lot of work in the dark. It must get dark early there or something.
And cold.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was like
Ugh,
frozen because it
miserable.
snowed. Yeah.
I also looked up the town because I was like, oh, PA, and then the name of the town, because I don't even think they say it in the movie, but I looked up some name of the town, but it was a made-up town. Because I was wondering, like, oh, is this actually a specific area in PA?
It's fictional.
You know?
Yeah.
Yeah, but then you said they filmed it in Georgia?
Yeah, somewhere in Georgia, like an actual town in Georgia. Yeah. Yeah. Any other thoughts about this one?
Well, what do you think now? 2 in. What do you think about? Because these first two even like you hadn't seen, and now as we go, well, actually, the next one you said you haven't either, which is very exciting.
Either.
Yeah. But like like these two so far, which one did you?
Which one do I like
more?
better?
Yeah.
It's a good question. Yeah, and
I'll ask you too, Claudia, because I don't think we talked about this.
I like this movie better. This is more of my type of movie.
That's true, yeah.
I loved the indie feel of the first one for sure. And I loved like kind of the emotions that I felt watching it. But this one is just a better movie as a whole, I would say. And I know it's not your typical genre, but it's totally mine.
I was trying to think. It was like, which one would if I had to go rewatch one right now? Which one? And even that's like hard to say because I think this one, Prisoners, was definitely more polished. Like you can tell it's not indie, right? Like even though it might be a lower budget, it's still feature, studio.
Yeah, it doesn't feel like a low budget at all, though.
No.
Yeah,
right. Yeah. No, it doesn't. But it's just because of the nature of the way, the type of they didn't need like. I don't really know. Maybe they spent $100 million on it, but probably not.
Yeah, probably not.
But so there's some polish there that you appreciate, and then of course all the little nuance of things that then you put the pieces together to rewatch it would be fun for that. But then the other one has the same thing. You have all those nuance of things that you could go back and watch again and catch those instances where, because if you're in the camp of you're like it was the same guy the whole time.
That's a good point, right? Yeah.
Like it'd be cool to watch it and just with that perspective and be like, oh, right. But then it is like I said, I think when we talked about last week, the some of the rougher edges of it, was kind of like it was like like not the part that I cared for of it. Yeah. But so I don't know. I think I'd put them probably on the same level. Then just I wouldn't be able to pick one over the other.
Yeah, I would probably. Man, yeah, I don't know. I was gonna say Prisoners, but now I'm like, I don't know. Actually,
he's persuading you.
I think I'm kind of with Josh. Yeah, I think
a good case.
They're both like kind of on the same. Yeah, but again, well, I might have mentioned this last time though, but now 2 in, it's like I think he's one of the few directors that hasn't done a bad movie. It's crazy. You know what I mean? Like there's not that many directors.
He don't miss.
He doesn't miss. No.
Well, I mean, again, we didn't watch the French stuff, right?
Sure, if we want to go that far, yeah.
I mean, maybe still doesn't discount what he's done because like to do what is it, 6-7 movies in a row, feature films, and they all be that strong is still fantastic. But there might be a few early ones that were not as good, right?
Yeah, probably when he was first starting out. Yeah,
because but definitely a talented dude.
Yeah, because a lot of the biggest directors is still, and obviously a lot of those other directors have done a lot more than him. Like he doesn't do that many, so
True.
there's more of a chance that there is going to be a dud in there, you know. But yeah, there's
He's pretty
there's a few.
I mean, if you think about,
He's consistent. Yeah,
he's only been about what a dozen years that he's been doing English speaking, and then he has what 7-8 movies.
right. Well, yeah, this is 2013, so yeah, 10 years for
Yeah.
So yeah, these two were 2013. Yeah.
So he's doing one every other year or so,
Mhm.
and I mean that's not. I mean some guys crank out 2 a year, but like Spielberg sometimes
Man,
does
yeah,
2 a
that's
year.
true. That's true. That's crazy.
Yeah.
It's crazy, but yeah, yeah, but yeah. He's not sitting around, so
Yeah.
yeah. So next week, Sicario.
Oh, dude,
Oh, Jared's real pumped about
I'm
this
so
one.
excited because this is one of my favorites, which is crazy because of how much I'm like a sci-fi guy. So like Blade Runner and Dune both are like I'd love
And
so
Arrival's
much.
even sci-fi.
That's
oh, man,
true.
Arrival is...
That one I don't put in the same category, but yeah, you're right. It is. Yeah,
I mean, it's different kind of sci-fi.
it is different.
Yes.
Kind yeah.
Yes.
But this one though, yeah, Sicario. Oh man, I'm not. Yeah, I mean, I'm not gonna say anything about it. I just.
yeah.
But it's also that one for sure. Johansson. Yeah, he did the music for, and I would say pay attention more to the music in this next one because it definitely stands out more. Then again, Roger Deakins too for Sicario. But also I wanted to mention, so the writer for Sicario is, I had to look up his name because we were talking about him on Screen Time TV about Lioness. Taylor
Oh, man.
Sheridan is his name. You know, the guy that did all these
Mhm.
shows. He wrote Sicario, and it is a very Lioness feel. I will
Okay.
say to you, yeah,
Well, then I'm
Yeah.
it
I
is.
mean, I was already excited, but they can
There you go, yeah.
Yeah. No, that's...
But also just an insanely good cast, and it's just
Oh, man.
Yeah.
yeah. So
Okay.
it's
Alright.
one of his best, I think.
All right. Well, I think that's it. Thank you for watching and listening to this episode of Screen Time. Really appreciate your support. If you'd like to support us more, please rate and review the show on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, or
5 stars.
like us and subscribe on YouTube. If you have any questions or feedback, please email feedback@screentimepod.com. If you'd like to follow any of us on Instagram, I'm at jyoungbar.
I'm at Jared Youngbar.
And I'm at Claudia Youngbar.
And we'll talk to you next time.